I've been doing a presentation about AI and optimization for a couple of weeks now. We did a big trial at Euroforest the last year with it, and people keep asking me about it. It's apparently an interesting topic to talk about and to learn more about and see where it's heading. So I thought let's do this presentation online and share this with you on YouTube and on SoundCloud. So here we go. To start with, there will be quite some data in this presentation and some numbers, so please bear with me. If you want the presentation, the slides are also online, so you can look at those. So, as many probably do wonder, how can we make that next step to the next level, and how can we get there? That's probably where everyone is working on and working towards. How can we make the next step with our website, with our platform? How can we help our customers better? How can we work in a more efficient way? And more general, how can we maximize our output with the fixed resources that we have? And how can we go through this cycle of optimization more and more and improve that cycle of optimization, do it faster and faster? In general, I think conversion optimization is quite hard. It's a really new area still. Of course, a lot of people have been doing it for quite some time, but in general, I think the industry is quite young still. What most people are doing is optimizing for the average user, which we really don't know who that actually is. And you usually don't have enough resources to test all the hypotheses for all the segments and the variables you have. So it's really hard to do. And what most companies still do is optimize for the average user. And of course, everyone needs more resources. You don't have enough resource to test everything all the time. You have more ideas than you probably can test. So how can you handle that? How do you prioritize and how do you test all those ideas? And even during a regular A/B test, a lot of variables can still change that are out of your control. Maybe the weather changes, maybe there are holiday peaks, maybe you're in the banking sector and rates from competitors change. Maybe in e-commerce, there's a big competitor doing a big campaign that can impact your test. A lot of things that are out of your control. And to make it even worse, these variables keep changing all the time. They don't stay stable. For example, in Norway at Euroflorist a couple of years ago, when we did a discount, it had actually had the opposite effect. We had lower conversion rates when we did a discount. The hypothesis here being that Norwegian people are rich. When you are rich, getting a discount is actually more of an insult. But over time, we see that a new set of customers is coming online that do react to discounts. So these variables are also changing a lot, which making me feel like a crazy man, pretty much. So let's take a step back to give you some context about what Euroflorist is doing, why this is important for us. Basically, what we do is we help people to make others happy, noticed, and remembered. And we are a Swedish company selling flowers and other gifts. We've been doing this for a long time. Before that was online, 1947, business to business, business to consumer. And our Dutch office, where the majority of our online team is situated, is located in Amsterdam. Over 21 years in e-commerce and the majority of revenue is coming from online. We have over 200 employees with over 2 million bouquets sent every year. And we have around 19 sites all across Europe in 11 countries and 8 languages. And online specific, we have over 10 million users on our websites this year, with sites up to 20% conversion rate. So that's really nice when you do conversion optimization. Really helps to control your sample size. Market range really depends on the country we are in, which we'll see later on. For my role, I lead the conversion optimization team, and we do more and more customer journey optimization across the board, so also offline. We started with online, but we're doing more and more online. What we're doing right now, so like I said, we're forming customer journey teams with one business owner and one owner on the side of my team. Focus is still on online landing pages, product detail page, product checkout. But we see more and more involvement before at the beginning of the customer journey and at the end of the customer journey with the post-order experience, customer support, etc. Our optimization loop looks like this. We start with an ID phase, a hypothesis, and a full testing plan. That basically means that we have everything in place before the designer and developer can start. Then we start making the test, design, development, Q&A, pending approval and approval. And after that, the test goes live. After the test has run, we do the analysis phase and then hopefully deployment. We do this mainly, the whole A/B testing process, the experimentation is done with Effective Experiments. It's an online tool. I highly recommend having a look at that if you do a lot of A/B testing, both as a merchant or an agency. And the A/B test itself we usually do with Convert. So how can we make this next step? Back to the opening question. Well, I thought let's have a look at how others are doing this. Let's not reinvent the wheel ourselves. I came across this quote from Evercore Equity Research. Booking.com's utilization of A/B testing drives higher conversion across its entire platform, resulting in average conversion levels 2 to 3 times the industry average. So Booking.com, and also being from Amsterdam, we know them quite well. We know they're working with optimization a lot. It's basically their core business. And what we learned from them is that I have a couple of colleagues working, industry colleagues working there, spoke to them. And what we know is that when you test more and more, the percentage of tests with an uplift will go down. Might sound a bit counterintuitive, but basically if you testing a site that's already really good, you test it a lot, then the low hanging fruit is gone and the percentage of tests with an uplift will be lower. At Eurofloors currently we have 1 in 5 tests with an uplift, but if we would improve and maybe even sometime in the future reach Booking.com level, at Booking.com right now they have 1 in 10 tests with an uplift. So the percentage of tests is going down. So how do you get more tests with an uplift? Pretty simple, do more testing to get to an absolute number of more successful tests. Right now at Eurofloors we have 10 to 20 concurrent. Right now at Eurofloors, we have 10 to 20 concurrent tests running, and at Booking.com, this is around 1,000 concurrent tests. So we're a bit out of our league here, especially when you look at the team we have. We have one optimization team at Eurofloors, and at Booking.com, they have 75 product teams continuously working on experimentation. Of course, we are not Booking.com, but we do know something about doing experiments. So we thought, let's do an experiment with the way we experiment. We started looking for something like a tool to assist us in this and different ways of doing this. And we came across the term evolutionary AI, which of course sounds really sexy. We really wanted to know more about that. So we started to dig into that one. Basically, when you look at optimization and getting AI, you have and machine learning. You have different possible applications how you can do this with e-commerce, and you have catalog optimization where you change the order in which products appear on your website and which products appear. That's catalog optimization. You have personalization, so more one-on-one. If someone is and also not only the products, but also everything around the product. So the communication style you have with someone, maybe someone is more eager to act on social proof, or maybe someone else is more eager to act on authority. You can personalize that. Of course, in advertising, that's a lot of machine learning going on, real-time bidding, chatbots, virtual personal shopper. But what we're looking at right now with this, what we did at Eurofloors is look at the improved optimization process itself. We already tried catalog optimization. That didn't work out really well for Eurofloors. It felt more as a black box situation. We didn't know why certain things were happening on the website, why certain products were prioritized above others, so we didn't really learn anything from it. We also didn't have a really feeling of control over what was happening. If you want to push new product, that was really hard to do, at least for the e-commerce managers. The uplift in conversion rate couldn't be proven, so that's basically why you're doing it. So that was a deal breaker. And I think in general, it's really hard for an AI system to optimize your catalog for a customer if you don't know for who he's buying or she's buying. Because, well, in when you are in electronics, for example, and you see that I'm visiting your website with a Mac, or if you already know I purchased something at your website for an Apple system, it's relatively easy to presume I would need something in that ecosystem. So you can exclude part of it, or at least put it down to the bottom of the page where it's less obvious to me as a customer. And that makes sense. If I have an Apple product, I might buy another Apple accessory for that product. But when you're buying flowers, it's more of an emotional product.
And it's a gift. It's always for someone else.
So maybe this week I need to buy something for my mother's birthday. Next week it's Valentine's Day. I want to buy something for my girlfriend. And maybe the week after there's a funeral for someone in my family. Those are totally different occasions, totally different people. And it's going to be really hard for an AI to optimize for that, I think. Of course, it's me buying, so it can be personalized to me, but it's really hard to optimize the product with catalog optimization. So I think that's why it didn't really work for Euroflorist, at least. But of course, we still have this really interesting promise of AI: faster, more efficient, time-saving, adaptive, greater impact, and ability to test more. So we came across Sentient. Specifically Sentient Ascend. That's the name of their the tool they have. They have different tools, but they tested with Sentient Ascend. And basically what it is fractional factorial multivariate testing plus evolution. I'll explain that a bit more later. So I presume you listening to this, you know what a multivariate test is. You can test a dozen site improvements all at once. You can test different elements and create different versions of those elements. And that's basically a multivariate test. In an A/B test, you only test one element. In a multivariate test, you can test multiple elements. And Sentient Ascend is combining that with evolution, and that's hopefully a concept I also don't have to dig into too deep to explain. It's really the Darwinian version of evolution, survival of the fittest. And that's how the tool works. So what it starts out with a basic ABX test, and then it starts iterating. It starts to go through multiple generations. So it starts out with a test. It starts to figure out, okay, which is working for me. Version A is happening. I see an uplift in version A. Version B is not doing much. Version C is going down. Version D is going up, etc., etc. Then it selects the elements that are working and goes to the next generation. And it combines different elements that are working. So it might combine the elements from A with D, and A with F, A with H, and to combine different winning variants. And then goes to, it selects the winners, then it goes through a next generation again. And the breeding continues with mutations to ensure that we explore all corners of the possibilities that we have. It also sometimes takes older versions that didn't work too well and retest them. And so you go through multiple iterations, multiple generations to come to an optimal version. So like I said, it's fractional multivariate testing, which means it doesn't test all the variants, but it takes a fraction of it and it infers relationship from that. And basically what you can do with this tool too is you have always on optimization. You could just let this system run on your website. What you can also do with the test, what we didn't do is, but you can test on multiple pages. We only tested this to contain the test, but we tested this on the product detail page. But you can test complete funnels from a home, product detail page, cards, whatever you want. That's also possible with the tool. So about the tooling, we used Sentient Ascend, like I said, and we used an implementation partner here in the Netherlands, Online Dialogue. They helped us setting up the tool and implementing the changes on the technical side. Little background about Sentient. They exist for over 9 years already. Got quite some funding, 143 million, and they are based in San Francisco. Their system is based on deep learning, evolutionary algorithms, and they use Bayesian statistics for their systems. They already successfully tested it in multiple industries like finance, cybersecurity, agriculture. They tested and improved the system over there and basically wanted to go online with it. So that's the question now. Does it work for e-commerce? They selected a couple of companies worldwide for the trial, like Virgin Mobile, Cosabella, Flypolar, and Eurofloors is now one of those. And we did a trial. We started this trial we started with a workshop in January of 2017. We selected 3 countries for the trial to have a wide range in type of countries. I wanted to know if it would work for smaller countries as well as the bigger countries. Of course, the promise is that you can test with a smaller sample size, but I wanted to know how small can you go. So we test this in the Netherlands and Norway, which are relatively small countries for us. And we also test this in Sweden, which is a relatively big country for us. We selected 8 elements on the product detail page and we created 2 variants each. So an original variant and an improved variant, which means 2 to the power of 8. We in total had 256 possible variants of the product detail page. Process we went through. So we started the workshop in the beginning of January. We did a first baseline test end of February, which means the system is already active on the website but not changing anything. It's creating a baseline to figure out what the websites or what the users are already doing and what the variation is in behavior from day to day. We went live with the test on March 20th and ran the test for 10 weeks until June 3rd. So the results in the Netherlands, we went through 3 generations. We tested 23 variants. Basically, what we ended up with is what the system showed us as the best improvement over control was 2.5 percentage points. But unfortunately, this was not significant. We had too many variants or not enough visitors to make this a significant test. Then let's have a look at Norway. We came through 4 generations, so 1 more. Tested 28 variants, and when we look at the result there we got a bit higher, 4.6 percentage point improvement, but again, not significant. So, last one, Sweden. Again, 4 generations. And the sample size here was, if you would do a full factorial multivariate, it would require 1.2 million users. Sentient used around a quarter of that, 350k users. And what we see here, an improvement over control of 2.8 percentage points, which is 6.9% improvement, which is significant with a confidence interval of 95%. If we look at the best variants that we saw, is that the USP bar had the biggest impact. It was consistently the variant that was in the top. We also saw impact for price perception, the product info, and we also had a progress bar on top. But of course, these are all numbers coming from Sentient itself. We did have an integration with Google Analytics, but it was a bit buggy, so we didn't trust that connection and the numbers in there. So we were relying fully on the Sentient numbers. So what we did, actually, we created an A/B test. So after the Sentient test, we did an A/B test with the original against the winner of the test to see if the results would hold up. Especially since it also was not a really enormously convincing win. It was significant, but still we wanted to know if we could trust this. So we tested the winner, and again, significant result, which was really good, with a really comparable result to the numbers that Sentient was telling us. A bit lower conversion rate with 5.3 percentage point, but with high power. And also the add to cart uplift was significant with 3.9%. The only thing that didn't turn out to be significant was the average order value. We also didn't expect this to be a big significant change, but we did control for that. It also didn't go down or anything, so that's good. But of course, what we want to know is percentages is nice, but how does it add to our bottom line? That's what you want to know. So we did a rough calculation on this. We created a business case for it. The costs will probably be around 165k for the subscription and the support and the salary. That's all included, what it would cost probably. And the expected uplift on a yearly basis, of course, when you can do multiple tests, not just one, as we did in the trial, we have $500,000 to $1 million extra profit. So not revenue, extra profit. And good to know, of course, the minimal conversion rate uplift needed for break even would be an uplift of 1.25%. Some final thoughts. There are some specific things with Sentient. Of course, this was a trial. It was in beta when we started it. The things we need to consider for when moving forward is that we wanted to steer on revenue per user, but the system was steering on conversion rate. Of course, conversion rate is not, but of course you need to consider average order value too. So that will be an improvement for the system. We had some Google Analytics data issues. We need to resolve those. The Sentient dashboard can be improved quite a bit. We gave them some feedback about that. And we requested a calculator to determine the ideal values. That would be really value to have upfront, being able to calculate how long does a generation take. What we saw right now with the Netherlands and Norway, we had way too many variants created to be tested in the time that we wanted. So of course it's an AI. We don't know upfront how long it will take exactly, but an indication would be really nice. If you don't have enough traffic or you have too much variables, it would be good if the system can give you an indication of how far you can go. So some pros cons here when you look at regular A/B testing versus the AI testing. With regular A/B testing, you have more control. You have stricter hypothesis testing. That's in general when you have doing multivariate testing and combine only fractions of that, you don't really know what's going on with AI. So when you do regular A/B testing, you have more control on that. But on the other hand, the cons are that it's slower, you can test less variants or need a lot more traffic. And we all have limited test capacity, so that's a limitation to the regular testing. Whereas you have testing with AI, the time tested per variant is much shorter. You can end up with more uncommon variations because you can add more variations, you can test more variations. And our rough estimation right now is that it requires less traffic, around 75% less, which means you can test more, you have a higher ROI. There's still some cons to consider, I think. The extensive setup process for a test, it was our first time, so it took a bit longer, but I think in general you can say it's a more extensive setup, a bit more extensive than a regular simple A/B test. It's still a bit of a black box. It's still a bit of a black box in that you don't really know why things are happening. You earn more money, you get higher conversion, but the learnings are not always there. Like I said, another thing is, like I said, is that you don't know exactly how fast generations will follow. And we also think that you really need to come up with decent hypotheses with the input. If you put garbage into the system, garbage will come out. If you create those variants, base them on the research you did, base them on what you see happening in Google Analytics, based on what you see happening in Hotjar, based on what you see happening in usability studies, use that as an input for the variants you create in this test. The last thing is that it might completely freak out the people working on your website, your colleagues that are not directly in optimization team, but are working with the website, the e-commerce managers. when you test with AI, you can test a lot more variants, so they see a lot more things changing continuously on the website, on their website, when they're working on it. So one thing to combat this, what you could do is exclude the internal IP from even seeing the test. That might help you to block them from seeing that. So yeah, what you need to prevent, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. When you just follow instructions and just do what the AI says, and you have if there's a really nonsense result coming out of it, you need to be careful of that. You don't want to follow blindly what the system is saying. It needs to make sense. Be careful that it still makes sense if you have a result. I think that's an important lesson, and I think what we've seen in the airplane industry with United, if you just follow the system, okay, this passenger is selected, we need to remove it, and don't think of the human side of this and what the actual impact is, and just follow instructions, that's not a good place to be in. And of course, with United it was a bit extreme, but it's the same with website optimization. It needs to make sense if you follow the instructions of whatever comes out of the system. So did Sentient deliver on their promise? I think, yeah. Is it faster and more efficient? I think overall it does have a great benefit. You can test more. It's overall faster. It's a bit more elaborate to set it up, but the impact is there. The financial impact that we saw, the business case is very clear, and we will definitely move forward with this. And then the last question I get: will this make the team obsolete? Well, I think the most clear answer I can give to that is that we are hiring people for the team. So we definitely need people, like I said, garbage in, garbage out. So that needs to be controlled. You still need to make those variants. The system is not going to make the variants out of thin air. The system can only test what it's putting in. It's not creating new variants out of its own. It's only testing what it's putting in there. At least that's what it's doing right now. In the future, maybe it will create different variations of the website, but that's not where we are right now. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments or send me an email or reach out on Twitter. I hope you've learned something, and hopefully I'll see you at one of the events I'll be presenting this. And hopefully in a couple of months there's an update on this when we've continued testing with Sentient. Thanks.